welcome to the morning show. First in the headlines this morning. Candidates in Saturday's governorship election in Osun State on Tuesday laid bare their plans before the people. The candidates, including Governor Ademola Adeleke of the Accord Party, Bola Oyebamiji of the All Progressive Congress, and Najim Salam of the African Democratic Congress, spoke at a town hall meeting organized by Arise News, where they faced a panel of journalists and members of the audience, speaking to why they should be elected on Saturday. Arise News correspondent Tokubo Yetunji has the details.
It is just days before the Osun governorship election. Here in Osogbo, the state capital, major candidates in the contest are participating in a town hall organized by Arise News for them to unveil their plans before the people.
Our objective is simple: to allow the candidates to speak directly to the people of Osun State and to give voters the information they need to make an informed choice.
First, to mount the podium and speak to different issues of socioeconomic development affecting the people and even the politics shaping the campaigns is Governor Ademola Adeleke, who is also the candidate of the Accord Party.
It's your civic duty for you to make sure your vote is counted.
Mr. Adeleke speaks to his government's achievements in the area of infrastructure, as well as improvement in healthcare delivery as part of his credentials to seek a re-election.
Why you think you should be re-elected? What have you done that they should vote for you?
And when I came here, I said, what have they fixed? This is not acceptable. We started fixing. As of today, we have fixed and we have about 200 healthcare centers. We put boreholes, we put solar lights and beds and everything. It's looking so beautiful, as if you are in America. Are you talking about the infrastructure? There are some roads that I visited and went around that have been abandoned for more than 45 years, some 35 years. I said it's not acceptable. I fix it. And I promise you that Osun State money will stay in Osun. And it's been happening. And you could see the economy is improving. It's trickling down. Because all the people that we hired to do all the jobs is here in Osun.
Next is the candidate of the African Action Congress, Olajide Osun, to state his reasons for contesting.
Part of the plans we have what I call Osun resident database. So this database will give us the opportunity to have the information of Osun residents and to also be able to put the right things in place for Osun people. Another thing is financial dashboard, because financial dashboard will give Osun people the opportunity to monitor and to track government spendings, so that if 1 naira misses, they can call me that youth governor, where is our 1 naira? Because accountability is very important, because the lack of accountability is what is making politics a lucrative business to career politicians.
The People's Redemption Party candidate also has his moment to unveil his plans.
In our agenda, we have set out to look at 3 core areas. We call these a 3-point twin agenda. We have talked about agriculture and infrastructure, education and employment, and then security and health. Osun State is popularly known as a civil service state, a state where majority of the people rely on whatever comes from the federal allocation. But we have farmers, predominantly. This is predominantly an agrarian society. We want to now look into our agriculture and see how we can encourage more young people of Ipinle Osun to take interest in agriculture, take interest in fishery, take interest in producing more crops, take interest in mechanized farming, take interest in producing more food for us, so that the issue of unemployment every day can go down.
The build-up to the election has generated some concerns, especially the level of violence that has come with.
Our next guest is the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, the APC.
Expectedly,
Please welcome
that forms
the
a major
APC
part of
governorship
discussions as the
Bola
All Progressives Congress
Oyebamiji.
candidate is welcomed to the microphone. Mr. Oyebamiji is promising to deploy his expertise in finance to turn around the economy of Osun State.
I'm going to be transparent, and I'm going to be accountable to my people. That's one thing. Again, there's one thing that is very important. As of today in Osun, 97% of our resources goes to 2 local governments. That's an aberration. Actually, it is criminal. I'm going to run an inclusive government, and I'm going to make sure that all my people, cities, towns, villages benefit from my government. And I'm going to invest heavily on healthcare, on education.
The last candidate of the day to take the podium is Mr. Najim Salam of the African Democratic Congress. He comes with some political antecedents, having been Speaker of the State House of Assembly in the past, and he is promising free education up to secondary school level if he emerges governor on Saturday.
You have to go with the responsibility. The responsibility to curtail all this violence will be done under my governor. As a government of the day, there won't be crisis in Osun by God's grace. Economy only grow when you have people that are well protected, secured environment. Electricity is there. There's no way electricity will not bring about development. Definitely, the name will change from civil service economy to well-growth economy by God's grace.
He's also promising a massive recruitment of youth in his first 100 days in office, as well as focus on agriculture as a major revenue earner for Osun State.
20,000 youths will be engaged the first 100 days, and I'm promising more to come. So if we engage people, the people will be on the farmland, the economy will be growing. If people are working, there won't be time for them to think about crisis.
As the event comes to a close and the candidates depart to scale up their campaigns in the next few days, the electorate in Osun are now better informed to take the right electoral decision and elect the right person as their governor for the next 4 years come August 15. Tokumbo Oyetunji, Arise News, Osogbo.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian police force has deployed 15,000 personnel across Osun State ahead of Saturday governorship election. The force public relations officer, CSP Anyete Nyedu, says the deployment is aimed at maintaining law and order. The police has also warned politicians that their supporters and other stakeholders against acts capable of disrupting the election, and that anyone found engaging in violence, vote buying, intimidation, and other electoral offences will be arrested and prosecuted. Ayo?
In other news, President Bola Tinubu has approved a landmark reform that places project-by-project negotiations with a transparent investment framework designed to unlock up to $50 billion in deep offshore investment and restart Nigeria's large capital-intensive offshore developments that have remained stalled for decades. According to a statement issued yesterday by presidential spokesperson Bayo Ononuga, the reform establishes a transparent, rules-based investment framework capable of supporting the next generation of deep offshore developments, beginning with the approximately $10 billion Bonga Southwest project, while strengthening Nigeria's competitiveness for globally mobile investment capital. Meanwhile, on the global market, Iran has warned that the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed to shipping until the United States changes its position and accepts Tehran's conditions for ending the war, raising fresh concerns over the global supply of crude oil and liquefied natural gas. The new development comes as the price of oil was choppy yesterday, reaching $90 a barrel for the first time in 2 weeks before falling back as the stalemate over the Iran war hardened and commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz dwindled.
Well, two former presidents, Olusegun Obasanjo and Goodluck Jonathan, alongside presidential candidate of the Nigerian Democratic Congress, Mr. Peter Obi, have raised concerns over the state of Nigeria's democracy. While delivering a speech at the 2026 Democracy Dialogue organised by the Goodluck Jonathan Foundation in Bauchi, Obasanjo expressed concern over the growing role of the judiciary in determining election outcomes in Nigeria, saying it undermines the essence of democracy when the votes of millions are ultimately decided by a handful of judges. In his own submission, Jonathan urged African countries to review their democratic systems and adopt models that reflect their histories, cultures, and political realities while upholding justice, equality, human rights, accountability, and free elections. The presidential candidate of the Nigerian Democratic Congress, Peter Obi, who lamented the erosion of trust in the judiciary, legislature, and academia, said fraud was being aided by the elite. Well, these are quite substantial stories that you guys have on the morning show this morning. I think starting off with Osun State, it was clearly a really well put together event in Osogbo yesterday, and it was wonderful to be able to hear from as many candidates as we were able to. There were some rumblings that perhaps some candidates might have been unhappy, some may not have showed up, but very happy that everyone who was invited did show up, did present their case to the electorate. Them having 1 hour was intentional so that we could hear clearly from each candidate and understand what their plans for the state was. And for me, if we start off with the incumbent, Governor Ademola Adeleke, it's very interesting to see not only his personality shine through, but also seeing him in quite a serious context. I think being that he is quite jovial in nature, it was quite interesting to see him defend his decisions, especially when it comes to infrastructure. We saw a question put to him by Yemi Adamolekun of Enough is Enough, and she talked to him about roads, and he pushed back and said that he himself had put together many roads that don't fall under his jurisdiction as governor of the state. He said that he had fixed many federal roads and it's not his responsibility, but he has done that nevertheless and has not been reimbursed by the federal government. And that it is the priority to make sure that Osun money stays for Osun projects for the benefit of Osun people. And I think the electorate would agree that that is something that he should continue to do should he be re-elected on Saturday. For those who may not have been able to hear beforehand from the other candidates, the town hall did a good job again of levelling the playing field so that we could hear from the likes of Dr. Najim Salam, but also Muniruddin Bola Oyebamiji, who talked a lot about his experience in the private sector, in banking, in oil and gas, and how that had informed his knowledge of Osun State and the reasons why he thinks he would perform better as governor. And I think that for his supporters, whether or not they come from murky places, as was alluded to by different people on stage, it is also an example of good democracy that you're able to hear clearly from each candidate and have them present their cases. We are going to hear from a guest later on in the show who will allow us to fact check a lot of the claims that were made on stage, and I think again that goes to the responsibility of journalism to make sure what you hear said by or said on our network is thoroughly fact checked and vetted. So that would be an interesting conversation. But I think all in all, the town hall did its job, which was provide a clear and fair playing field so that these candidates can respect the electorate and present their cases. So for the people of Osun, as we said in the promo, the choice is yours, and it will be very interesting to see whether or not the incumbent will be able to hold on for a second term, or whether one of the challengers will be able to circumvent that and mark their stamp on Osun State. Going off to our other stories, I think I'll defer to the two of you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the rest of those.
All right, okay, thank you so much, Adefemi.
You're welcome. It's always
always good to see you. from the beginning of the show, you brighten up the table. So let me talk about... You can sing this all through today now. All right, yesterday was very, very interesting. Like you mentioned, Adefemi, it gave an opportunity for Osun State, the people of Osun State, to listen without the razzmatazz and, you know, slinging of words and attacks on personality, even though that sneaked in a little bit at different points. But the main focus and the main thrust of yesterday's town hall was to listen to the ideas and of the candidates, major candidates in the election, and also to have an opportunity for them to clear some areas that they'd been accused of, and listen to some of the questions posed by the Osun State people. And I thought that it was excellently moderated, professionally moderated by, of course, Dr. Bati and Adeso Omoran, who were able to steer the conversation. This town hall, by the way, was held in conjunction with the editorial board of the Tribune and also the Osun State Broadcasting Service. And I thought one of the interesting parts was the woman, one of the moderators, who insisted on asking questions or posing questions to the candidates in Yoruba. Yes. I thought that was significant, even though, yes, you might say that for those who were watching, you would not be able to understand what she was saying, but the real people who they are being spoken to, they are speaking to, many of them, as she said, communicating Yoruba and might be able to even feel their potential leaders better, because when you communicate in a language that people understand, you speak to their hearts. I think that's an African proverb. So it was good to see that dynamic introduced into the debate. So maybe, just maybe, where we have other, not debates or a town hall, where we have other such convergence, we should have an opportunity for other languages so that people feel included, and we will work towards ensuring that we have some sort of interpretation so that others can also be included in that conversation. So now let's get into the detail. Adefemi, like you said, a comment that came out a lot of times there, that people often do not see this very serious part of Governor Jackson Adeleke. And so it was good to hear beyond his dancing. Action Jackson. Yeah, that's what he reminded us that he's a bulldozer.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but just on your point of the moderator only speaking in Yoruba, when she asked Governor Adeleke about vote buying, that was exactly my feeling towards it, because it was very easy for anybody to say in English, oh, you know, it's palliatives, we don't understand this, or this is what we do, this is normal. But for him to actually break it down in Yoruba and say, what do I need to buy votes for? They buy votes, they do this. For us, it's called palliatives. This is what we do it for. We've been doing it before we started in this government. I think exactly for the electorate who don't converse in English, who may not understand what a lot of these words in English mean. It was very, it did a really great job of that. Sorry, I just wanted to make a comment. Thank you, that's fine. I mean, there's so many things to talk about it. So let me say some of the things, or touch on some of the things that were mentioned during that town hall. First, with the incumbent, Adeleke, Governor Adeleke. He said that he had, some of his wins, he had the opportunity to tell the Osun State people that he doesn't just know how to dance, he knows how to get into action and be serious when it calls for it. And he said he'd constructed 350 kilometers of road with 150 kilometers of road still in view, saying that he wasn't using substandard, he wasn't building substandard roads as was accused by his opposition, but it was actually, what gain would it be to, underserve the Osun State people in that way. Now, for some fact-checking, he also said, with regards to education, that some people say he hasn't invested a lot in education, but Osun State is actually number 7 on the ranking. And a little check does show that when it comes to the most educated states in Nigeria, Osun State does come at number 7. But if you dig deeper into the reason for that, you can trace that part of that investment to the Okmoimo Tablet of Knowledge. Okmoimo, thank you so much. Tablet of Knowledge e-digital project of a previous administration, Rauf Arugweshola. So there was a tangible project that was introduced by an administration that had a direct impact on the literacy and education aspirations or advantages of the state. When it came to his own particular contributions to education, I don't think he had the opportunity to really dimension that. I say this because also looking at the National Bureau of Statistics and spending of education in Osun State didn't come top 10 in 2026 in terms of budgetary allocation. Osun State didn't come top 10 in 2025. So it means that the state didn't have that political will to give enough resources to education
education improvement in the state. And so it would have been great to hear why. Why, if you're saying education is priority for you, then you should put your money where your mouth is. And so why was that investment, especially using the UNESCO threshold of the percentage of the budget? Only a few states made that percentage. And Anambra came, and Enugu came tops, and some of the northern states, Kaduna included, but Osun State was missing in that. So just to mention that it's not enough to say that we're number 7. It's not overnight. So maybe that this is an opportunity in the next few days for him to explain why, Osun State hasn't termed it as priority to invest a lot of money in education, and what specific projects has been done to achieve those education outcomes. Then on security, it was interesting for him to make that knowledge, emphasize the point that he studied criminology. So this is his forte. And that prior to election season, Osun State was actually relatively peaceful. But since, the election, we've seen more, and you can obviously see that we've seen and heard more killings. Yesterday, we talked about 70 violence-related incidents in Osun State during this election season. We've heard of deaths, whether from the APC camp or the Accord Party camp. It's just been really terrible. Elections should not come down to war, with parties based on personal interest. But he said he was willing to work with the federal government, since he, even though he was the chief security officer of the state, was not the commander-in-chief, which is the responsibility and duty of the president. All the candidates supported state police and talked about how they would ensure that it would not be abused. All the candidates said that they were going to invest in agriculture as part of their moves. Okay, very quickly, Oyebamiji, he drew on his experience being in finance, saying that he would bring to bear that experience if he were elected. He drew on his wins as Commissioner of Finance under Aregbesola, saying that he was able to unlock 16 billion naira in funding from the Paris Club Agreement by mobilizing, the state and writing to the then President Buhari, and he was able to release that, so that with his knowledge and experience in finance, he would be able to unlock capital to fund projects in the state. And I thought that was quite an interesting point to make. He didn't quite respond well to the security question that was asked to him. What he was talking about was that he's a good Muslim, and he's a man of faith, and what would that do to him seeing somebody else being hurt? I love that. Yes, you can talk about your personal faith, but I think there should be more critical response to such a big allegation, because this has marred the elections thus far. I'm talking about the insecurity and the accusations against the APC. Also, Governor Adeleke accused him of being a proxy of Governor Yetola, who he says is still feeling the pinch of losing to him in 2022. So he didn't really answer that. Are you a proxy candidate for Yetola? And to speak on behalf of his principal, let me end on this one, because I cannot not talk about this last one. Dr. Najim Salam, and I'll move on after that, because these were the 3 main candidates on the stage. And I'm glad that we also had the PRP represented. We had the AAC candidates also represented. Dr. Salam said he was going to promote Awolowo's legacy. Now, the challenge with people who have not yet, he was former Speaker of the House, is that you don't have a track record in that regard. You can just base it on promises and listen to how they hope to achieve this. He said he was going to leverage some of the initiatives of the former Governor Aregbesola, including some of his initiatives in education. Well, good, because we saw that some of those initiatives actually worked. But it would be great to see how he intends to create 20,000 jobs. He said he would invest in agriculture. Like I mentioned, all of them said they were going to do that. But all in all, and I believe that if you didn't watch it live, it's still on our YouTube channel, listen to the ideas. I thought it was brilliant to be able to have no distractions. Dr. Abati was very firm in speaking to the political supporters, no heckling, no support, no clapping. Listen to what they have to say. And that if we continue to promote conversations like this, then we might have an opportunity as a nation to have a politics of ideas, not just politics of, throwing darts at people and maligning characters, and not telling people what you hope to do for them, so that at the end of your tenure, we can go back and look at your score sheet and see if you've actually delivered on the promises that you made your people. I'll rest my case on this. We'll have the conversations further in today's show.
Okay. We saw the debate. Kudos to Arise TV yesterday for the debates and the exchange of ideas. We want exchange of ideas, yes. And kudos to Dr. Abati and Adesua and the entire team. It was good to see our dear Egbola Siola Goju,
very brilliant questions asked,
and what's it called, Festus anybody. But I felt very, very, I felt like the candidates didn't come to the party, all of them, and I felt it's very lackluster what Osun is going to get. and I'm saying this across board, I mean, I didn't see the brightness of ideas. I mean, yes, the governor, Adeleke, was reacting to many things, trying to defend his turf, but I didn't see a lot of brightness. I didn't see a lot of vision. I saw more of attacks. The governor, yes, defending what he has done, 350 kilometers worth of roads. But what is the overarching grand vision? You know, I see Oyebamiji talking about deficits in the system. There was a question asked by somebody that said, oh, he went to one particular hospital and there was nobody in the emergency ward. All the candidates, I think it was only the PRP candidates that put a finger, that put a finger on what was happening in the healthcare sector, probably because he's a medical doctor, and what he was going to do to be able to end the Jackman syndrome. So I saw that. But apart from that, collectively, I mean, I didn't see the brightness, you know, of ideas and all of that. And I don't want to say this, but because I'm also a stakeholder in Osun. Around 2011, 2012, I worked on a radio station called Unique FM in Elisha.
You've been around.
So I know the turf very well. And that's what you're talking about Okmoimo. Ayo, the story is not as they reported for Okmoimo.
Please tell us how do you say that it was successful, it contributed
that was one propaganda report. It's not.
Tell us the fact.
It was not as successful. In fact, if you remember, Yola in one of the debates did say there were a lot of bugs, software issues and all of that, that the reverse even happened, that Osun dropped from about 13 to about 24 in our WAEC ranking because of that. I mean, and there were a lot of problems with, you know, yes, Ogbeni was good, he had good intentions for the Okmoimo scheme.
He had a plan, yeah. He
had a plan, you know, was very bold. UNESCO praised it then. That's the part they keep talking about. But good intentions and implementations are two different things. The way it panned out was not as glorious as they paint Okmoimo to be there, because, I mean, I remember the scheme, you know, very well, and I remember the walk around the Okmoimo scheme. But it was a good plan, it was a good idea. But the earlier implementation and all of that, because the question you should ask is, what has even been the sustainability of the scheme? That's another different case and all of that.
Perhaps that would have changed it, because the successive government would have had an opportunity to correct, because it's a fantastic scheme.
No, it's a great idea.
So they would have had the
it's a great idea, but even
it.
the implementation, so things like there were bugs on it, the workability, even the quality of the tab. There were many issues centered around Okmoimo, you know. I mean, so the jury is out there. Some would say, but we can't evade the fact that UNESCO praised it then.
Yes.
But was it like a one-size-fits-all? I mean, not totally so. I mean, because I also know a lot about how that project transpired. But there were some other schemes by Aregbesola that people like Najim Salam are saying that they're going to, because I remember then Aregbesola used to use a security vote, you know, to be able to start sort of like a workplace scheme where people were giving 10,000 naira or thereabouts to, you know, do businesses and do other things and all of that, and they were in the government employ, which was another scheme then he was pushing and all of that. And Aregbesola was more forthright. He was more media loving. I mean, there used to be something then when I was in Unique that used to be called, I think, Ogbeni Till Daybreak, where it was like a town hall meeting where Aregbesola would speak about issues and all of that, you know, for a very long time, and all interest groups were addressed and all of that. So, I mean, give it to Aregbesola, it was a big campaign. I had his own time. But they were back and forth conversations too. But for me, I didn't see that overarching plan. So take, for instance, I didn't see conversations around what will mining wealth be used to do for the Osun economy. Because, yes, Dr. Abati was right when he said there's a toga of like a civil service state.
Yes.
Because everything pretty much revolves around Aberi and Okefia.
Absolutely, yeah.
You get.
Yeah.
But Osun also has been endowed with great mineral resource. How does that feed into the budget line? What comes out of that? I knew there was some gold auction on this side. How has that been used to be able to show up the potential of the state? The conversation then was that, oh, Osun used to get very low amount in what's it called, in federal allocation and all of that. I mean, there were allegations that that has since changed, that they're getting a lot more money and all of that. But the question is, what's the sustainability plan? What's the plan to be able to increase development across other parts? And I'm not talking only Oshogbo. I'm not talking only Ulesha. I'm not talking about Ede.
Because they accused him of that.
I'm not talking about, what about plans like areas like Ejigbo? Ejigbo has a very rich cultural interplay. Ejigbo is very Duolingo. Most of the people you meet on the street of Ejigbo speak French because they are other returnees from other West African nations and all of that. You know, what is happening across, places, across the states? How is this development pervasive? Elisha has some, deposit of gold. Yeah, there used to be some industrialization in Elisha then with the brewery and all of that, but how can we replicate that level of progress and development? So I didn't see a lot of the conversation about the overarching vision. Yeah, so Ibamiji spoke about what he did with the investment company of the state, real estate and all of that. I think that pretty much answered the question of an allegation of capital flight, because you can also say, he took money to come and invest in Lagos and the likes and Abuja and all of that, but maybe it was the line of best fit for investment. I didn't see an overarching idea, apart from what he just glossed on, the PRP kind of glossed on the surface. I didn't see an overarching idea on healthcare. I didn't even see an overarching idea on, education. I didn't see an overarching idea on the use of technology, the civil service workforce and things like that. I didn't see very bold ideas on even how we can even bring about AI into governance and many other things that can be done, because Osun is very rich and Osun has a lot of capacity. So I didn't see overarching ideas as regards that,
Dr. Salam spoke on education. So he's the one who said he was going to continue the work that Aregbesola did. So I think there was one person who spoke to what he planned to do.
Meals pretty and much, yes, all meals, because Aregbesola did a lot of that. But the sustainability is what, let's not, push Aregbesola aside. He did a lot and he was a very influential figure in the state. As regards the oil sector, I'd like to say very big, and quickly, I needed to address one matter. I think it is bad for politicians to come and start lying to us in our faces. And I'm talking about the case of Senator Fadansi. I was seeing a story that the police has invited him. I think they should invite him, do their investigation. If he's found wanting, probably charge him to court, because what he did was aberrant. I was seeing another story somewhere. I've not been able to confirm. He said it was AI or something. I don't want to think it's true, because that was a live that was recorded. And you see, these politicians think they can just lie on AI. There's some things you can't lie. It was a live. And if you watched it live, he specifically was even saying, people might be recording me and everything. So he was well aware. But he was stomping, and it should have implications. As regards President Tinubu, I want to give him kudos today because, in all fairness to him, yes, he has done a lot to be able to open up the oil and gas sector. And he's been doing a lot to be able to, open up that sector. What he has just pretty much done with this new directive is open up the sector, give very heavy incentives. So the more you produce, the more rebates you get on taxation, for what you churn out and all of that. And the caveat is, as long as you reach final investment destination in 2029, which is a very tall order. So if you can produce more than 400 million barrels, you get a certain threshold of tax relief and all of that. He just wants to spoil that sector and bring a lot of investment into that sector. And if everything goes with a target of 100 billion, I mean, it's a welcome development. And kudos to him. At least under him, we've seen Bonga come alive once again. I mean, a couple of deals that have been stalled for a while. He's been able to bring them, but we just expect that some of these deals will get to final investment, decisions and the likes. And we're able to, take it up from there. So we would like to say a very big thank you, and thank you to Ayo and Femi for that.